Hi, my name is Donnie and I'm with Gallo Fly FIshign Lodge, and this is the Some Gummy. So you can tell by the profile, it looks a lot like a sardina, right? And this is probably about as close as what we can come to with that normal bait. So basically it's an oversized blue water gummy minnow. Blaine Chocolate, invented this a long time ago, and I don't want to take from his genius because he certainly is one, but basically I augmented this with a baitfish skeleton, right? So it's a fiberglass skeleton. It adds a lot of strength and a lot of stability to the fly, and it makes it to where we can actually catch these bigger fish with it, and some of the toothier critters too that don't just bite this thing in half the first time, like needlefish and things like that. But roosterfish love this thing. It's been something that's caught a lot of roosterfish. So let's show you how to make them. First, this is going to be a kind of a down and dirty version of this. Sort of just an informal sort of introduction how to tie these things, okay? So I'll show you exactly how to do it and exactly how I'm tying them. It takes some time to do this, so I apologize for that. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with some 0.030 lead wire, right? I'm going to give that a few wraps around this thing. I don't want to go too crazy with this because it's a pretty big hook. This is a 3/0 wide gapped, kind of relatively medium, like a medium shank saltwater hook, right? It's pretty heavy, but I'm going to lock that down. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra large thin fins fly tail, right? I'm going to take that all the way to the back of the shank of the hook. I'm going to double that back in, secure it down really, really well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this fish skeleton, we're going to measure it off as far as our length is concerned. Okay, we're going to double this over just like we would just about everything else in this video. Half of it goes up, half of it goes down below the shank of the hook. We're going to pull this tail back. We just progressively kind of flatten this out, right? Whenever we get that secured well enough, we're going to secure the front side of this thing to our fly, the shank of the hook, right? Okay, now we whip finish. Then we're going to trim what we got. So I like to trim the bottom side of these things and not so much the top side. So we're left with kind of this profile right here. Boop. Okay. Slap that back in our vise. Now, the first thing that we're going to look for is our mother of pearl color. Silly Skins from Blaine Chocolate. The way that they're marketed is from Hairline, right? Chocolate's silly skin in the mother of pearl color, all right? The best thing you can do with this stuff is just rip the whole package because it's gonna be stuck to the inside of that plastic, all right? And I just throw this stuff away because I tie so many of these things. I go through a lot of materials. So how I'm gonna measure this is gonna be from here to here, right? I wanna go basically to the back side of the skeleton, and you want a good sharp pair of scissors. And that is the key to everything. Because if you've got dull scissors, and it's a lesson in futility is what it is. It will really test your patience. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm going to measure this on one side and then double it on the other. And this is a pretty wide fly, and I'll tell you, it's hard to cast, it really is. But whenever you see this thing hit the water and the action that it provides and the kind of the way that the fish react to it, there's nothing like it. It's amazing. So I'm gonna take one end of this thing and I'm gonna kind of trim off both sides of the back. I'm gonna try to do it in a manner that it's pretty symmetrical, but nobody's perfect. All right, now for the hardest part of this whole stupid fly is to get this stuff separated from this. My advice is don't trim your fingernails before you're gonna tie a bunch of these, otherwise you're gonna pull your own hair out. Again, I would like to apologize for this fly taking 30 minutes in this video to take that, but you know, it is it is what it is, and some things are worth it. This is definitely worth it. So last time that we were in Baja, we I only had 2 of these in this color, and that was not enough. So we broke both of those off. My wife almost broke my rod, and everything was no bueno. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is put a little crink in this thing on the top of it right here, right? If I don't get it right the first time, I can just easily pull it back off of there and try it again. But I want for this to go over the eye of the hook, right? And then I want to start securing it thereafter. And I try to keep it midline with the skeleton. And I just kind of work my way down. Now what you're going to find is that whenever you do this, it's kind of hard to get this thing perfect the first time. So you can just kind of peel it back off. Be patient with it, take your time. If you don't get it the first time, adjust it a little bit, come back to it. Okay, bueno. All right, again, trim the bottom side of this. I like to try to round that a little bit right there. And then it's off to our next color, which is going to be prismatic silver. Really, really like this color. Aha, there's one that's already trimmed. Lucky us. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do is we're going to measure and make sure that that's good, and it is. Then we're gonna peel this stuff off the back side of it again. Hey, lucky me, look at that, it came off real easy. Wahoo! Okay. Again, we're gonna start over the eye of the hook. We're just gonna kind of measure this out. I apologize for this looking so cumbersome, but I mean, it's a cumbersome process. And it seems like it's never really perfect, but it always seems to turn out perfectly. Okay, if you have any air bubbles that develop in it, just kind of work those out right now, because it's hard to do that whenever you get that last coat of stuff on there. Okay, now it's time for the eyeballs. Just stick them on there. You don't really have to worry about gluing them or anything. You're gonna have a whole clear level of silly skin past this, so it's kind of silly to worry about it. Yeah, I know, bad joke, dad joke. Okay, so we're just going to measure this real quick. We're gonna end up using this whole thing, so it takes a lot of materials to build these things, but in my opinion, it's so worth it. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim the back side of this just a little bit more, just to make sure that we don't have that bulk back there that will kind of kick that tail in an unnatural manner. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a black Sharpie, right? And I'm going to put a couple of these dots back here. And on our real baits, those are pretty prominent in the water, right? So you'll see those in the water. The other thing that you can do is grab a tan Sharpie and kind of hit the top of it with it, because you always see that they have a little bit of a yellow color or tan or sort of a greenish color to them. But this is the thing that I like about this, is it's not just overwhelming. So in this situation, we're going to use the green one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of green, like right in front of the eye right there. And you always see this in those things, and it's kind of a little bit of an illusion. Those Prismacolors, they're great Sharpies. They're really, really good markers. I've had that one for I don't know how long, and it just keeps working. So if you want a little bit more of a color on that, then add a little bit of gold or something like that. But the next thing we're going to do is go through this sadistic process of trying to get this silly skin off of this backing again. One more time. There it is. You want to be careful with this whenever you first pull it off of here. It has a tendency of doubling over and sticking to itself, and that will really irritate you whenever you waste like $5 worth of this stuff just because you screwed up one time. Okay, so you can tell that I did a little bit of a different technique for laying that thing out that time. Actually didn't line up right, so I'm gonna peel it off of there and do it again. So I'm gonna cheat this thing where it's just barely on the bottom end of this. And just gradually just work everything down to where there are no air pockets in it. Okay, so now whenever I trim, I'm going to trim just a little bit past where I had before and leave that exposed stuff out there. Trim my tail up. Take the corners off, kind of round it off a little bit. Stick my fly back on the the vise here. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tie up the front of this. And what this does is a couple of things over. So you see these things to where they've got this round head on them. Well, the way that you get that is by tying it back up and behind the eye of the hook, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few passes on this thing, and then I'm going to secure what I've got, bring it all the way down. Then I'm going to take all of this extra stuff right here, and I'm just going to pull it off with my fingers. It comes off pretty easy. Trim the tag end of my line, and then whip finish the rest of it. And there you have it. The Get Some Gummy. But you can tell, I mean, that's a tough gummy, but it still has a lot of motion, has a lot of flash, it looks realistic in the water. It's just a good all around go-to bait, but it is a little bit tough to cast. So if you're not a very good caster, you might stick some time into practicing before using this one. So anyway, I'm Donnie with Gallo Fly FIshign Lodge, and this is your Get Some Gummy minnow. Enjoy.